Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So about 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of the gaming channels on YouTube were doing a video called Cool Gaming Stuff That I Own. I took part in it, I made a video kind of just grabbing random things from around the game room and showing it to you guys. And I thought it would be fun all these years later to kind of do that same thing again, whether it be, something that's been sitting off in the corner that hasn't really been shown in the video before, or maybe it's something I've mentioned in the past, but, maybe that was 5 years ago and not everybody has seen it before. So I picked out a whole bunch of random stuff from around my game room, such as this Elderscrolls V Skyrim snow globe. And yes, it even has snow action going on inside of it. So that's just an example of just some of the random stuff that I have around here that maybe you guys have never seen before. Like, how about this vintage Qbert plastic bank? How about that? I mean, Qbert is an odd character. He's actually one of my favorite older retro video game characters. There's just something about him. His design is just so odd. And of course, he's one of the few video game characters back in the day that cursed. Of course, it was all blocked out, but I like Qbert. This bank is, it's a big hunk of plastic, but there's just something cute about it that I really like. All right, now you guys know that I have a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog stuff, but these next few items tend to get a lot of attention in the past. And with good reason, because they're kind of odd. But that's my collection of Sonic the Hedgehog vintage food in a can, kind of like SpaghettiOs kind of stuff. So this one here is Franco-American Sonic the Hedgehog pasta with meatballs in tomato sauce. And this one is Sonic the Hedgehog pasta with tomato and cheese sauce. If you guys want to know the expiration date, November of 1998 for the pasta and cheese, and July 1998 for the meatball. I don't want to know what this looks like inside. It's probably liquid death in a can if you tried to eat this today. Alright, and the last Sonic items that I have are Sonic Lifesavers from 1993. These are hot rings. Get it? Hot rings, Sonic rings. Well, yeah, they're trying to play on words here. This is a brand new sealed package of 4 whole rolls of Lifesavers, and then I also have Blue Rad, raspberry flavored Sonic Lifesavers. I'll leave it up to your imagination what these things may taste like all these years later. Alright, so 5 years ago for Mario's 25th anniversary, I went to Nintendo World and there was a surprise visit from Miyamoto there. There was a Mario in costume. It was a really nice event. But one of the cool things that they had there was that if you bought a 25th anniversary Mario 3DS, of which I've sold in the past, because I bought that just to get this. The only way that you can get this was from buying one of the 25th anniversary Nintendo 3DSs, the Mario branded ones, the red ones. So I had to basically spend, I think at the time it was like $250 to get this frame of, it's a print, it's not an original signature, but it has Miyamoto's signature down here with an original piece of artwork that he did specifically for this event. So I thought it was worth the money. It's really cool. You could only get it at this event for that one day in time, so I think it's really special. I sold the 3DS, but I will never sell this frame print. Alright, I've got one more food item for you guys, and that's this packaged, still new and sealed Nintendo Jelly Pop collection, I guess you can say. We've got some, what is this, Yoshi here, we've got Mario, we got Donkey Kong, and I have 2 links, but the really cool thing is these are actually pretty detailed for candy. I mean, these things have a lot of detail. They look really faithful to the characters. Of course, they're long out of expiration, and they're hard, and they were probably, a soft jelly at the time, but I don't know, I really like kind of weird, odd items like this. Alright, and next up is this Spice Orange Nintendo GameCube. This was a color of GameCube that was only available in Japan. You can get orange controllers outside of Japan, but the console itself you can only get in Japan. I bought this not that long ago from my friend Luke Morse, who's been on YouTube for many, many years. And the cool thing is he's really good at modding consoles, and he actually modded this to make it region-free. So not only does it play Japanese games, but it'll play games from PAL region, it'll play US games, so it's basically my all-in-one Nintendo GameCube that'll play any game that I want it to. And of course, it's the awesome Spice Orange color. Alright, now for some really cool standees that I don't think many of you have seen before. Next is this Sly Cooper and Ratchet & Clank lenticular standee. Check this out. As you rotate it, it switches between a Ratchet & Clank and a Sly Cooper artwork. Very cool. 2 really great PS2 era platformers that I really like. I'm more of a Ratchet & Clank fan, honestly, more than Sly. But I have a weakness for lenticular things. I just think they're some of the coolest designs out there. And speaking of really cool lenticular designs, this is one of my favorite promotional pieces in my entire collection. It's for the original Game Boy. Check this thing out. Lenticular Standee display. So it's actually the artwork from the US that they use on the cover for the original Game Boy, but check that out. How cool is that? When you walk by this thing, it kind of animates. Really cool to have. Actually, I'd never noticed this on the back. Somebody got an amazing deal on this. There's a price sticker. There was a price sticker on the back for only $2. So yeah, I paid a bit more than $2 for this thing, but still, one of my favorite promotional displays in my collection. Now this isn't a sign, but I kind of use it as one. Do you guys know what this is? Look familiar? It should if you're a fan of Nintendo 64. This is actually a mouse pad for Wave Race 64. It's official, but there's no Nintendo logo on here. There's no Wave Race branding, but this is a Wave Race 64 mouse pad. Now some of you will think I'm crazy for buying something like this, but I'm a big 3DO fan, and I also so happen to be a huge fan of platformer mascots, especially failed platformer mascots from the 90s. And this is one of the iconic mascots from that era, specifically for the 3DO. And that's this pretty big, it is a standee, but it also has hooks here, so you can hang it as a poster on the wall, which is what I do. Check out this Gex cardboard standee. Really cool. Gex is one of my favorite mascots from back in the day. He basically wanted, I played Gex for the first time on the PlayStation, which is actually what this one is advertising. But to me, Gex was the face of 3DO. Like, this was their mascot that they were really pushing for the 3DO. And it's really what made me want a 3DO back in the day, but it was just too expensive. So I got one, a few years after it came out. And I just thought that this was a really cool display for Gex. There's not a lot of Gex merchandise out there, so I had to jump on this when I saw it. All right, and lastly for the mini standees, check this one out. If you're a fan of old school PlayStation, this is pretty cool. An original Crash 1 Crash Bandicoot standee. But what's really cool about this thing is they kind of give this 3D effect, whereas you can see Crash is sort of elevated off the background because, well, what was the big deal about Crash games back then? The 3D effect of running, down the levels, and I think they really pulled it off in this standee to kind of give you the, wow, look at that 3D effect. So, the marketing was spot on for Crash Bandicoot back in the day. There's not a lot of Rayman merchandise out there, and this is something that I picked up at, I think, PAX a few years ago. Rayman Origins Punching Bag, because, well, why not? Everybody needs a Rayman punching bag in their lives. It's a little mini one, but when you hit it, it goes back to where it was because it's got sand on the bottom. Kind of cool. Not a lot of Rayman stuff out there, so I like this. Now, we all know that the Super Mario series has a lot of merchandise, figures, plushes, and all kinds of stuff, but there's one game in the series that didn't get a lot of love merchandise-wise. There's some out there, but it's all incredibly rare, and that's for Super Mario RPG. And I just wanted to highlight two figures from this keychain line. I have a lot of other figures from this keychain line, but I wanted to show these two in particular. For Geno and Mallow. Two characters that are beloved by a lot of fans of this game, and this is basically their only appearance in figure form in color. There's other little unpainted figures out there for them, and there's also rumored to be, there's one picture online of a Mallow plush that is basically almost impossible to find. So it's really cool to see some official merchandise for these two characters, and these keychains, when they do show up online, the Mario RPG fans go rabid for these things. I've seen them sell for hundreds of dollars each for Geno and Mallow. So keep your eyes peeled if you're a fan, but I'd say these are really worth owning. How about a Super Meat Boy figure? Not much to say about it. I mean, it's a big hunk of plastic. The arms are posable. And there was actually a variation of this that was sold out by the time I went to go buy it. But there's another version where he's beat up and he's got a black guy and he's got a band-aid on. But I like Super Meat Boy. I think he's a really cool, well-designed platformer character. I enjoyed the game, so I wanted my own Super Meat Boy. Okay, I lied. There's one more standee. This is one that's not really seen too much in my videos because it's kind of off to the side, but it's this Mario standee. But it's not your everyday Mario standee. It's actually promotional for eyewear by Renaissance. So yeah, this was actually used to advertise, I guess, Nintendo eyewear, which I'm not too familiar with, but I still think it's a really cool vintage-looking Mario sign, as you can see here, and it's pretty big. Now, this is one of the coolest and most expensive and rare items in my collection. I'm a big fan of the Uncharted series, and this is something that I will probably never part with because I just love this game so much. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But back in 2010, there were pre-orders that went up for one of the most coveted art books in basically all of video games, and that's this Uncharted 2 Ballistic Publishing Folio limited edition of the art book for Uncharted 2. So there were only 200 of these things made. They sold out. I emailed the company and I said, I really wanted one of these because they were expensive. I think it was like $200, $250, to buy this book. So there were not many made. I emailed the company and they said, you know what, someone just canceled the order, and I got the last one that they had available. I was very happy. So it comes in this cardboard box. This was basically one of the, kind of what they shipped it in. And then inside, as you can see here, is this awesome leather-bound, sort of velvety, suede textured version of this art book. So it comes out here, and I did a video review of this, so I'll post the link in an annotation. So if you want to check out a more in-depth view of this book, you can. But it's got gold decals on here, and as you can see, it opens up, and then on the inside is the actual book, which has a really high quality kind of velvety leather texture to it. I forget exactly what material this is. And then on the inside, it comes with the certificate of authenticity, which is numbered, hand-signed by members of the team. Only 200 of these made. I've seen these on eBay for something in the realm of over $1,000. I've had offers in the past, people wanting to buy this from me. I wouldn't let it go, and some of the offers were awfully high, but I'm a huge Uncharted 2 fan, much more so than any of the other games in the series, and this is just something that I will keep in my collection forever because I love this thing. Okay, so we all know that Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, is finally taking off. It's a really popular MMO. A lot of people enjoy it, which is great. But this here is the original Final Fantasy XIV Collector's Edition. I pre-ordered this thing. I actually bought and built my first, big rigged up gaming PC so I could play this thing on max settings. I was a bit disappointed. It's kind of an old relic now because the original Final Fantasy XIV was really awful. And this is one of the worst collector's editions I think that's ever come out. It just had a calendar book and a little ID key for you to log in. Awful collector's edition, bad game. But at least they sort of saved the game by releasing A Realm Reborn. But this thing, so bad. All right, and I've got 2 statues left for you guys. First of which is from one of my favorite Sega game series. And this is the only statue, to my knowledge, that exists for the entire series. This statue is from a game in the series that's not particularly my favorite game from this series, but still, it's the only one that exists, and it's really cool. And that's my Panzer Dragoon Orta statue. There's only a couple hundred of these, I think, that were ever made. It was only released in Japan, and when this thing shows up for sale, Panzer Dragoon fans jump all over it. It goes for a lot of money. But I think it's worth it. It's an awesome bust statue. Just check out the dragon and all the detail that's on this thing. Really cool. All right, and lastly is a statue for one of my favorite games of last generation, another Sega franchise. This is from the first game, and that's my Bayonetta 2 figure/statue. This thing is really dynamic. It's got a lot of motion to it, a lot of detail to this thing. It's also very delicate. There is a lot of small parts on here that are just begging to be broken off. But I prefer the first kind of design of Bayonetta herself because of the hair. I'm not a big fan of the short hair from the second game, but this is an awesome figure/statue that I had pre-ordered for 2 years before it came out, so glad to finally have it in my collection. Well, that's going to do it, guys, for my cool gaming stuff I own video all these years later. Leave a comment below, or heck, even make a video response. We can revive the cool gaming stuff I own series of videos again like we did many years ago. So feel free to post a video response and show me all the cool stuff from your collection. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.